everybody. Welcome back to another episode of God Built This Podcast. I'm your host, Maxine, and we're on episode 153. Hello. Let's talk about how Africans are scammers. Let's talk about how Africans are scammers. This is coming from a few days after I've gotten my hair braided by Africans, of course, because who else could braid hair like Africans? Like, I feel like at this point, I am a willing participant in this scam. I am willingly going into the salon knowing that I'm going to spend more than the set amount that was told to me prior to me actually arriving to this appointment, right? I always like to maybe it's the financially cautious of me coming out, but I always ask before I book anything, before I continue with the service, before anything. Like, you're never gonna catch me like, oh, I didn't know how much it was. No. I knew. I've already withdrew the amount, or I've already calculated the amount that I would need to spend for this said service. And so that's just how I am. Like, I like to just always kind of calculate it. I don't like to be surprised. Oh my gosh, I didn't know it was gonna be $180. Like, yes, you did. Or you should have asked. Like, why are you getting a service and you're not even asking? That's weird. But anyway, prior to me arriving to my appointment, I already spoke with whoever I spoke to on the customer service situation, because I speak to them through Facebook Messenger. And very quick, easy communication is great. I really like it. And she specifically told me, or I think the person who runs the messenger is a guy. And this guy, I believe he's the owner of the shop. And I learned that he is actually the husband of one of the braiders. And this braider in particular, she is like the head honcho at the salon. And when I found out that he's a husband to a wife, I was like, oh, okay. Because honestly, it didn't look like it, right? I thought he would have been a husband to a husband, to be very clear. But, to each his own. Go y'all. So anyway, I think I was told that he's the one who runs the messenger, but I don't know. Anyway, in the messenger, I asked, hey, this is the style that I would like, and how much would it be? And you always get the question of what's the length, right? And depending on the length, the price varies. So because I wanted it to be broad length, the price was $200. So I'm like, okay, cool. And I calculate, of course, the tip that I plan to give. So I'm already in my head, okay, it's about to be like $210. And, I'm going to take the cash out, even though they do accept credit card, or Cash App. But I still withdraw the cash. That's just how I like to do it, okay? Straight cash, okay? So I get there, of course, go ahead and start braiding me down. And thankfully, the style that I have, it's almost like it's not that long and it doesn't take long to complete. So because it's broad length and because I got jumbo braids, it was only 2 hours. Bam, bam. Went there right after work. Got out before the sun left. Like, it was pretty nice. So towards the end of my braid, of course, it's going to be some mayhem, right? At the end, every time you're about to pay for something, it's always some like sneak conversation happening in the sideline. Like, bitch, here's the money. I got to go. I have to go. It's just like when you're at a restaurant and the check finally comes out after you eating the entree, the appetizer, the dessert. Now everyone's at the table is like, oh, what's the bill? I didn't know what's gonna be all of that. Like, what? Like, every time I've gone out with people for the most part, and it's always black people. Cause I don't go out with white people, so I don't know if it'll be different with them. But for the most part, every time I go out with black people, and this could be black people whom I'm related to, black people whom I am colleagues with, but any black people, it's like, oh, this is the bill? Like, yes. Did you forget what you ordered? You ordered the lobster shrimp steak roll. It's going to be more than $50. Okay, and you had 3 Cosmopolitans, and then you wanted to get a bottle because you was feeling it. Like, it's gonna add up. It's okay that the bill is actually $200, $300. It's not okay, but the point is, you shouldn't be surprised. I just hate I just don't like when people make a big deal out of things. I don't like big deals because my anxiety is triggered and I am feeling this unease, this fear comes over me, this doubt comes over me, like, oh my gosh, I can't make it. Oh my gosh, I can't make this payment. I'm going to be trapped in this braiding salon forever. Right? Or I'm going to be trapped in this restaurant forever. And it's like people like to make this whole hysteria whenever the check comes out. And okay, so going back to the African braiding salon. So I'm there, mind you, I'm already prepared to give my $210, okay? And actually I think it was $205, but I was already prepared to give what we was already in communication about. You already told me the amount. Mind you, as part of my service, the hair is already included. It's not like they said, oh, to include the hair, it's a $5 fee or nothing like that. She didn't say that. And it is what it is. So anyway, it's about time to pay. And I'm ready to go. Like, I'm tired. I'm ready to stretch out. I've been seated in this chair for 2.5 hours. I'm ready to go home. I'm ready to get in my car and drive home. So I'm noticing they're taking forever. Like, okay, we've already completed the last parts of this braiding process. And for those of you know what the last parts are, right? So after the last braid is braided, they put mousse in your hair to kind of just settle down any flyaways. They blow the blow dryer towards the end to kind of just hold it all together. They cut off any flyaways towards the end of your braiding hair. And what else? They put any final gel, they put spray, like those final parts where okay, we about to go. And honestly, those are the best parts. I really love the last parts of my braiding experience. Like, I just love the massage, basically. Like, you're massaging my scalp when you're putting the mousse on my hair. You're spraying me down. Yeah, it just feels very comforting. So I'm ready. Like, the cash is out. And I'm noticing they're like running around like banshees. And I'm like, okay, hello? Are we done? One of the ladies like, oh, she'll be right back. Just hold on one second. I'm like, okay. It's like 3-4, like, that's long. 3-4 minutes? We're done. Like, is there another braid you want to add? Like, what are we doing? We're done. So then she's like, oh, did you already put in a balance? Did you already pay a deposit, actually? Yeah, did you already put a deposit down? I'm like, no, I didn't. Because that's, hello? Like, are you guys not communicating with the people, whoever is running the messenger? You would know, right? Like, there's no, what the fuck are you talking about? A balance? No, I didn't pay no balance. I'm paying it all full right here, right now. So then what happened? So then I said no. And I said, the price is, this is what the person said on the messenger. I showed the messenger conversation. The price is, the person said 200, whoever I was speaking to. And so this lady's talking about, oh no, it's actually $235. And I'm like, okay, what? The lady, whoever spoke to me on the thing, on the Facebook Messenger, said 200. Hello? Said 200. And so she's like, no, it's 235. I don't think she even gave a reason. She just said, no, it's 235. And then she actually ended up saying, no, it's 240. She changed it up. She's like, no, not 235. It's 240. I'm like, what? Are you on drugs? So anyway, yeah, she said 240. And no, she actually already said 240 initially. She already said 240. The reason why I said 35 is because I had $205 cash. And so I said, oh, well, I'll give you the remainder via credit. Like I'll pay for it via credit. So that's that. And so that's what happened. So I paid in 2 different payments. And look, at this point, just take my money. Just get my hair braided. I'm going to go. Like, it's fine. At this point, it's sucky because I feel like I got. I really do. I feel like I got gypped. I feel like I got played. I feel like I got robbed. But I'll come back again. like, because my hair is braided. Right? Because my hair is in the style that I wanted it to be, and I am pleased. I am pleased with it. I am pleased with the low maintenance that I have for the next few weeks. I am pleased with the up and go just experience that I will have for the next few weeks because my hair is braided down. So if you're going to go ahead and rob me and tell me 240 when you already told me 200, then at this point, here's my checking account number. Okay? At this point, here's my routing number. Okay? At this point, here's my blood. Just take it all. Just braid my hair down. Just braid it down. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I will pay top notch. I will pay whatever it needs to be paid for convenience. And convenience to me looks like braiding my hair, right? Convenience to me looks like moving. Like if I'm moving to a new home, I will pay movers. I'm packing this up by myself? Like I'm going to pay for a service. And I feel like at this point, like for example, I remember when I moved here to my current home, and there were some things that I just couldn't my bed in particular, my bed frame. I'm sure I could have gotten it together by myself, right? I'm sure I could have put the pieces together by myself. But let me tell you guys what. I didn't want to. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to turn the wheels around, turn the beat around. I don't want to do that. I don't want to hold one stick together and pray I don't get a fingernail chipped off or a hangnail because I didn't do it right. I will pay for a service. I'm on TaskRabbit as soon as I move, right? As soon as I move to a new residence, I'm TaskRabbing it up. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time for any other stuff. Like, I love to organize. But if I don't have to build something or if it's, like, too complicated, if I just don't want to do it, then I'm not going to do it. Don't get me wrong. I do build stuff. Like, I built my bar table. That was pretty easy. I built the overhead storage that I have over my toilet. I can do it. But for things that I just don't want to do, that I feel is more convenient for other people to do it for me, I will pay whatever needs to be paid. So it's sucky that I paid $240 when it was said that the price was $200. What I'm going to do next time, though, I'm going to pay up front, or I'm going to confirm up front. That's what I'm going to do. Not pay up front. I'm going to confirm up front before you even start to braid my hair down. Hi, excuse me. Hi, yes. The person who I spoke to on Facebook Messenger said $200. Is that correct? For this style, bra length, this chunky jumbo braid style. Is that correct? That's correct? Okay, great. Thank you. I will be paying you that amount at the end of this service or right now, but just don't even get it twisted. So I think that's what it is. I feel like that's their way of getting one over on you if you wait until the end of the service to confirm, because it was already confirmed over the Facebook Messenger, but I guess whoever runs it is not the person who was doing my hair or was not properly communicated. But that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to protect myself because I really don't want to get gypped. again. But I really do appreciate their service. I love how my hair turned out. The vibe in the African braiding salon is cool. Like, it's fine. Like, I've been going there for a while now, so I'll still continue to go. But don't fucking play with me. Don't fucking play with me. Because even though you play with my money, I'm gonna still go back. But still, don't act like I'm like I'm Boo Boo the Fool. I feel like they were in the back speaking patois. No, they're not Jamaican, not patois. But whatever, speaking Swahili and shit, talk about, oh nah, let's get her on 240. Let's say 240 instead. Like, what? Did you really just say 240? 200 was what was said. Like, why would I lie? And I showed you the Facebook messenger, but I didn't want to be a stickler, like, just like how I said earlier, how whenever you get the bill at a restaurant, people want to act all extra and be all surprised. I didn't want to do that. I honestly just wanted to go. I was ready to go home. I was ready to lay down. A headache was already coming over me at that point. So it was time for me to go. It was time for me to go. So anyway, yeah, Africans are scammers. And I have figured out a solution to protect myself next time I go to that damn salon. Because I will be back because I love how my hair turns out. Ting! Okay, let's talk about this don't say gay bill. The transition. It's the transitions for me. Don't say gay bill. Now, this is an interesting bill. I don't know. Is that the actual, like, formal, proper title? Because that is a wild-ass title. Like, damn. But remember that other bill? Or was it a law? I don't know. But they're in the Army. Don't say... No. What is it? Tell her, what was that Army bill? Hold on, I'll tell you guys right now. Right. Don't say nothing. So Army bill about gay. I'm gonna write type. Don't ask, don't tell. That's what. Yeah, it starts off with the don't. So what about don't, huh? They really don't want you to be gay, right? But yeah, that don't ask, don't tell bill was done in the military service in order to just hide the sexuality or sexual orientation of gay men, bisexuals, lesbians, etc. So it's just so interesting. Like, this is the name of these bills. Well, anyway, so the Don't Say Gay bill. The Don't Say Gay bill was passed in Florida. And this bill limits when and how teachers and school staff can discuss gender and sexual orientation in the classroom. Whew, let's get into this because, I mean, at this point, let me just put a label in my forehead and say Republican because a lot of these, I agree. And here's why I agree. This is no offense to LGBTQ plus IA folks. It really is no offense. It's just when you look at things from a different perspective, right, from a spirituality mindset, then you are looking at things with the agenda that is being pushed. And I understand, like, the argument against that will be like, why is it an agenda? I'm not trying to make you be gay. Okay. Let's get into this part. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna read a couple of lines from this article here. So the Florida's House of Representatives passed a controversial bill on Thursday limiting when and how teachers and school staff can discuss gender and sexual orientation in the classroom. The opponents to this bill believe that this is just something that will make life harder for LGBTQ folks and youth in particular because they already face a higher rate of bullying and a higher risk of suicide than their straight and cisgender peers. Rather than those who are on the proponent side of this, they believe that gender and sexuality should be taught in an appropriate age, and parents should be informed about what's happening in the classroom. Now, here's the thing here. I think there's always been a tug and war between teachers and parents. Between the school and what is done in the household of that student, of that child. And there's this argument of whether or not the school knows best for the child, or does the child's parent knows best for the child. And it's interesting because there's a lot of benefits in learning about like sexuality, and just let's talk about just sex in general, just sex, learning about consent, learning about bad touch, good touch, right? All of that needs to be discussed, and I think it's appropriate to do so in the age appropriate manner, depending on what grade level you're in at school, right? Because oftentimes this conversation is not happening in the home of that child, right? Like, I didn't grow up in a home that casually or openly talked about sexuality, that talked about good touch, bad touch. And all I could remember was said about that topic was my mom only said to me, make sure no one touches this, and she pointed to my breast, and she said, make sure no one touches that, and she pointed to my vagina. Now it's like, okay, but what happens if they just take it, right? Like, what happens if you are put in a position where you don't have a choice to let them, they take it, right? Like, that's not, the idea of having that conversation wasn't even a thing back then when I was growing up. And so they didn't know, at least my parents didn't navigate that conversation, and they should have. They absolutely should have, but I'm saying this in grace, right? I'm saying this in retrospect, because growing in my like healing journey and all that, I also recognize that people do the best that they could in the time that they did it in. Like, I can't harbor harsh and just ill emotion towards my parents and other caregivers for not properly handling X, Y, and Z. I think it's just, it is what it is, and you just got to move on. But in retrospect, yes, I still would have loved to have had an open and welcoming environment about the topic of sex, the topic of abuse and sexual abuse and all of that, because that probably would have prevented sexual abuse from happening, right? But anyway, it didn't, right? So the conversation never happened, and so it was always kind of presented as if you have sex, then it's always your choice, as if you should be ashamed for it because I told you not to let anyone touch here or here, instead of painting the actual reality of, it's not about you willingly having sex, it's also about you possibly being sexually abused and what happens next, right? And understanding that it's not your fault, but yet because of the way sex was discussed back then, it's perceived as if you should be ashamed of the abuse that was done to you. Isn't that crazy? Like, I know so many people who've been abused sexually specifically and felt like it was their fault, felt like they did something to warrant that. And it's just so disheartening. It's just at the very least, it's disheartening, because what conditioning was done for you to assume and for you to take on the blame of an abuse that was done to you? Like, isn't that crazy? Like, how do you even possibly take on that abuse? You know what I mean? It's like when kids witness their parents get a divorce, and they're younger, right? They're probably 8, 9, 10, or whatever, 12, whatever. And they witness their parents break up, get a divorce, and they feel like it's their fault. It's my fault that dad left, right? No! Dad and I just grew apart. It has nothing to do with you, Tim, why are you acting like it? And then a lot of these divorced children who grew up with their father or their mother no longer in the same home because of the divorce, they take on that blame and that responsibility of the divorce, which is like, why? I don't know. Is that a human nature thing? I really wonder, is that something that is just innate in us as human beings to take on blame and guilt so easily? But I I just don't get. Anyway, I just don't get that, and I hate that. It's like, Timmy, this has nothing to. Mom and Dad wanted to see other people. It has nothing to do with you not sleeping at your bedtime at 8:00. We're not gonna, like, your dad's not leaving us because of this. Like, what the fuck? We're not getting a divorce because of that, Tim. Go to bed. But that's just weird to me. So anyway, sex was not discussed at all. It was not like a conversation to be had. So when you don't have it at the house, the home that you stay in, where else should the conversation be had? Where else should you be educated properly on what good touch, bad touch is, on what to do if you are sexually abused, and what to do if your body is feeling differently and you're growing in different ways? Like, your parents, of course, they experienced the same things as they were younger and growing into their adolescence, but they're not like science teachers, right? Granted, they're not educated about the particulars in having these conversations. So in those cases, I do believe, and I do agree that schools should have segments in the day or in classes, maybe during the second semester only or whatever, but like have appropriately lined discussions about sex, about sexuality, well, not sexuality, but about sex, about bodily functions, about all these topics, sexual abuse, everything that should be said and that should be properly understood. So I do agree on that note. Now, when it comes down to sexuality and what you identify with today, who you're attracted to, I feel like that is going down a slippery slope. And here's why. Unfortunately, we do have people, right? And people, including kids and adults, but let's be focused on kids. We do have kids who do things for attention. I'm saying this in love. Let me just make that very clear. I'm saying this in love. I'm saying this in humility. But I'm also saying this in the perspective of an educator. I teach students, right? I teach high school age kids. And I'm sure it's even worse for younger age kids, but for the most part, a lot of kids, not every kid, but a lot of kids do things for attention. And if now what is presented to them is the option to change their pronoun, is the fact that that's even a conversation now is wild still to me. But now that option is presented to them, like, no, address me as such, or here's my new name change, it's now a way for that attention-seeking student to figure out more ways to get attention. How can I gain more attention? Because I'm not getting that at home, so I'm going to figure out ways to get it at school. And look, I don't care if you don't agree. I really don't. This is the one topic I don't want you to sound off on. It's like, no. Sound off. Again, here's a reminder to click the link in the show notes where you could leave a voice message and share your thoughts on any of the topics that I've discussed in this episode. And I will share that on a future episode and respond right back at you. Rat-a-tat-tat-tat-tat. But I just think ultimately, though, when it comes to sexuality, when it comes to, who I like today, who I don't like today, or how am I identified today, how am I not identified today, I think it's just very slippery. And I feel like there's a lot more focus on that than there is on being a good writer. Like, I'm sorry, there's a lot of students, oh my God, there's a lot of students who I know are so well versed in cis that, gender, bi, trans, all this stuff, yet can't write a thesis statement to save their life. I want to know what's more important. I want to know what's important here. Like, I really don't think this is going to help you out in the long run. And I feel like we're not properly supporting and aiding our students to be successful in whatever life they choose for themselves, because at the very least, they're horrible writers. And it's like, well, I don't want to become a writer. It's not like I want to be a writer. You need to know how to write, though, right? Like, the basic skills are not being so pressed upon. Instead, you have so much more focus on what pronoun you want to be addressed to. You know, what pronoun, like, it's just, I don't have the time for this. So anyway, I feel like ultimately there's always been this tug and war between the school and between the parents. And I do agree that if your child comes out, and comes out to the counselor, I don't know, isn't there like a HIPAA thing about that? But I think, though, parents should still be informed. I feel like at any point, you don't have to be detailed. Like, this is a comedian whose podcast I watch, and he was saying how, it's so funny. He was saying how, what did he say? He was like, you know, imagine the teacher calling home and saying, yes, Miss Smith, yes, we caught Jacob sucking the dick of one of our classmates here, or one of his classmates, and we just wanted to let you know that this is an event that took place. Like, I don't think you need to be very detailed, right? I don't think it needs to be that, but I just feel like if you notice a conversation is had, that regards the students' just overall emotional well-being, sexual well-being, physical well-being, like overall, I think that definitely should be shared with the parent. Now, I understand that there are parents who are not as accepting of just a queer lifestyle and all of that, but I think ultimately, though, you should still, I don't know, I just feel like we need to stop hiding shit. Like, stop acting like schools only reserve information here and we're never going to tell our parents that. Like, that doesn't sit well with me. I feel like ultimately whatever happens in the house is what happens in the house. Like, I don't know. I don't think that should be a reason why you don't be as open and vocal to the parent, especially if you're telling the parent about every other thing, right? You're telling the parent about a fight the child got into. You're telling the parent about how the child is sleeping in class. You're telling the parent about just the drop in grades. Everything should be shared. And I'm also saying that because I have a student who, she would like flippantly say, oh, I'm just going to kill myself. Oh, I just had a hard day. I'm going to kill my, like, she says it so flippantly, like, I'm going to kill myself. And I'm like, that is not funny. Absolutely not. And she responded to me and said, oh, I wasn't joking. Oh. And she kind of said it in a curt way. Because sometimes you try to pop off. Like, bitch, I'll cuss you right the fuck out. But hold on, you're suicidal. Let's not, right? Let's not go there. But she kept on saying this, and this was something that she has said more than once. And look, it's always better to be safe than sorry, right? I would hate to hear, I don't want to speak it out loud, but I would hate to hear anything that she said flippantly to actually be a case in reality, right? So I'm not going to shy away from sharing that information with her parent. So I absolutely reached out to her parent and said, hey, this is what your child has been saying. This is the cause for concern. And we have a counselor here available to discuss whatever she wants to discuss so that she could just better manage stress. Because I understand as being a student, especially she's a high achieving student for the most part, but she wants to do well. And I think sometimes that stress will overwhelm students, and they haven't learned yet how to best cope and manage their emotions, their stressors, etc. And considering what we see a lot on TV, what we see very casually on social media, suicide is very accessible. Let me just say that, okay? It's very accessible, and I just would hate for that to happen. So, of course, I shared that with her parent, and I'm so happy I did, because she, after that point, went to regular meetings with the counselor. I haven't heard her say that since. And she and her dad are just in communication. Like, everything was properly done. And I feel like that is what needs to be done. Like, when you're sharing feedback to the parent about the child, it doesn't always have to be focused on their grades. It's about their overall well-being. And if you notice, or hey, look, your child is suddenly um quiet today ever since she shared in our discussion that she has these feelings towards the same sex, and yet that's something I'm gonna share. Like, I feel like there needs to be conversations had. I think it should be an open communication, because ultimately it is a village, right? It is a village to raise a child. It is a village to support that child. And I'm hoping, of course, for the parent to be on the same accord. But ultimately, if you're not being forthright with the parent, then I don't like that. Like, I don't like that secret. Oh, it's just between me and you. Like, I'm not making secrets with a child. What the fuck? Right? I think ultimately, if the child is sharing with me something that's harmful, that's being done in the household where she or he is staying in, then that becomes a bigger thing, of course. But ultimately, if a child is sharing a secret with me, first of all, no, we're not doing that. Like, what are we talking about? Ew, I gotta go. I'm uncomfortable. So yeah, I just think ultimately the conversation should be open between parent and teacher. And with teachers being in the presence of the child for 8 hours, there is another perspective that the teacher sees the child in, right? And the parent knows the child in another perspective. Well, maybe we see them in an extended version of themselves. Either way, it still is that same holistic human being. So why not continue to prepare and support that human being by being very open and forthright with all the parties involved, so that that child could get the love and support that he or she needs. So I am in favor. I am in favor. There is a specific quote that says the legislation prohibits any instruction about sexuality or gender between kindergarten and third grade. Quote, or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in accordance with state standards. And I think that's fine. I think it's fine. Like, at the end of the day, I don't know how you can word sexuality to a first grader. Like, I'm not a first grade teacher. I'm sure maybe there are other ways to speak about the topic in a way that is most receptive to that child at that age. But I do agree that there is an age appropriate way of doing something or having these conversations in a manner that is receptive. So I don't think that's a way of like harming the child or making the child feel shameful for their sexual. I don't. At kindergarten, like, you're not thinking about what pronouns. Like, what are we doing? I would hate to be a kindergartner and I have to carry the load of, am I a cisgender female? Is my mind in accordance with my body? Am I a biologically male enticed human being? Like, just color in the lines. Let me see how your cognitive skills are. Let's line the letters. Let's see how well you trace. Let's have this conversation later. You know what I mean? It's just not, the world that we're living in right now, we are finding things that are not as important, and we're diminishing the importance of what should be important, right? Like your writing skills, your basic writing skills, your math skills, your history, your understanding of history. All of that should still be the forefront. And you could add in conversations and sessions and workshops around these topics, but do it in a manner that is appropriate for that grade level. And that's it. Like, I don't think that's anything anti-homophobic, anti-homophobe. Like, can we just relax? Can we relax? Hello? Can we relax? Can we relax? Let's go ahead and talk about Married at First Sight. It's been a while. I have been watching, and just FYI, I have been watching Ready to Love as well. I am so into this season. I appreciate the cast. I feel like it is a genuine, down to earth, just some real niggas, like men and women on the show for Ready to Love this season. So I'm excited about that. And I don't really want to talk about them for this episode. Let's talk about Married at First Sight. And there's a couple points I want to hit. Let's start with Michael and Jasmina. But of course, you guys already know what are we gonna do? We're gonna cue the music. Okay, let's talk about Michael. Oh, y'all already know what I'm about to say. Y'all already know. He is a Napoleon complex guy. He suffers from Napoleon complex, and at this point, all short men do. At this point, all short men suffer from the Napoleon complex. There is this just insecurity of their height that is so overwhelmingly true. Like, it is so present. It is so visible. I just can't unsee it. If you haven't noticed, take a notice next time you watch Married at First Sight, and you'll see that Michael never makes eye contact, or like he shifts his eye contact from you, and he's looking down, he's looking around, he's looking to the side. Like, are you the feds? Like, what's going on? He's looking around all the time. He's also never standing straight or sitting up straight. If you notice, he leans, like he has a lean with him, like he has a hump in his back. Like, sir, what's going on? And I used to think, oh, maybe it's just the way that he's built, right? Because sometimes men of a stature, not to say he has much, let me stop. But anyway, like typically men who are very like physique, what I mean by that is like they work out a lot and they have this posture to them, like their back is at an angle where the top half is like it curves up. So I just thought, okay, maybe that's just him standing how he can because of his posture. I think it's not. Like, there's no reason why you're sitting down and your arm is at your hip and you're leaning forward every time. Like, is everything okay? Like, why is your hump? Like, why do you have a hump? What's going on? Okay, that's the point. There's another thing I noticed about him physically is that when he also sits down and when he's talking, he'll put his hand on his head, at the top of his head. And it's like he's kind of like smushing the top of his head. Like, it's like he's smushing his head down. And I feel like that's also a way for him to distract you from his height. I'm being so dead ass, y'all. I promise you. This is his way of distracting you from how tall or short he is, right? And so he does these things that is just a way to just like protect himself and his height. I really think he has something going on. But yeah, I just I'm not into it. I'm not into him and Jasmina. I think it's gonna be a dub for me, dog. His white lie of saying that he never lived with a female, yet his current roommate in his apartment is a female. Like, he has a woman roommate. Like, are you on drugs? Why did you lie? Like, what is the problem? Which I just don't understand. Like, what was the reason? I remember when me and Leprechaun was together. Leprechaun. I didn't even say Leprechaun Bay. Dang. When me and Leprechaun Bay was together, there was a time when we went out with my sister and a few of my cousins. We went out on an outing to paint and sip. That's when paint and sip was a thing, or like the beginning of paint and sip being a thing in Boston. And my sister asked Leprechaun Bay a question about, hey, did you tell Maxine X, Y, and Z? I don't know what she asked him specifically, but she asked him about something that she was asking if he told me about. And he said yes. Yes, he did. And the way that Leprechaun Bay spoke, the way I remembered it is he speaks very adamantly, very sternly. Like he's not ever like thinking about his speech. He always wants to present that, or he always did. Look, I don't know, he probably changed, but he always presented himself as very self-assured and he knows everything, and it was very fucking annoying actually. But very just like, he never would end a sentence with well, you know, that's what I think, or I could be wrong, or, you know, I'm not sure, or I don't know. Like, he never said those words. He never said I don't know. Shit. I don't think it's now be like, I don't know, ask somebody else. No, but he never said I don't know. Never. So when my sister asked him that question, and he said yes. And again, he's saying it without a doubt, very adamant, very stern tone. And when my sister asked me later on, I guess she was following up. I don't know why she wanted to ask me. I don't know. I wish I remember the question. But either way, she asked me later on about, hey, did Leprechaun Bay, instead of saying Leprechaun, she said his real name, of course. But, hey, did so-and-so tell you this? And I said, wait, huh? No, he never told me that. And she was like, really? That's weird, because I asked him and he said yes. And he said it very adamantly. And I was like, ooh, okay, that's weird. But, you know, it's weird because why? Like, why did you do that? Like, why are you lying over something that you didn't tell me, but you're saying that you did? Like, what is that about? And I think when you look at the psychology behind that, I think there is this fear of being seen as someone who doesn't know it all. And for a long time, many people were conditioned to believe that if you don't know anything, don't admit it. Act like you do, fake the funk, you know, don't ever say I don't know. Always say yes or no and then figure it out later. When now it's more embraced to be honest and say, you know what, I don't know the answer to that, but I'll find out, right? Or, hey, I don't know the answer to that. Maybe ask so-and-so. He or she is more of an expert on that topic, right? It's more accepted to embrace what you don't know. But back then it wasn't. It really wasn't. And I'm saying back then like it's so long ago, but like still, even during that time period and based off of your conditioning, right? And he was an older man. He's an older, he was 8 years. Yeah, 8 years to me. Yeah, right? Yeah, 8 years. And so think about how he was raised and how he probably was conditioned to believe that a man doesn't say, I don't know. A man doesn't say no. Always be sure. Always, or just be a fucking liar, right? So anyway, he lied. And that's me looking at it from the psychology point of view, right? I'm looking into the reason behind your conditioning and how you were raised, your nature versus nurture. But ultimately, you're a fucking liar. That's what it was. Hello? You're a liar. And for you to lie, for you to give this small white lie, you know, this harmless lie, it's very telling to what else you would lie to me about. And, you know, ended up being right because later on, after we broke up, learned that he cheated on me. And I wonder, could it have been the time when this happened? Could it have been the time when that happened? But it was already over at that point. So it's like, why go back? You know, why go back and ask clarifying questions? It was like, okay, whatever. I just found out. It is what it is. But anyway, I bring that up to say Michael is that type of nigga. Okay? Both of them are short. Both of them are Haitian. I mean, hello? Jasmina, run! And I don't really like Jasmina either. I really don't care for her either. I don't think she's a compassionate person. Now, I do, though, think that Michael is very, very negative. That nigga needs an attitude shift. Like, he needs to go smoke something. I don't condone any of that. But for him, it's gonna be a whole encouragement by me for him to do that, because my God, today, I get it. You've been through a lot, right? And my sympathy goes out to you. But I also feel like that should be a motivation. Just like what Jasmina said, I think maybe her tone, her delivery of saying it was not as kind as it could be. But I think ultimately, someone like Michael, I would be annoyed with. Like, oh, nigga, I'm always gotta pick you up. Like, I always gotta, make you feel better. It's just, I just feel like ultimately your personal issues are yours. They're for you to handle. Like, just like for me, like my anxieties and just my coping of them were my responsibility and are my responsibility. It's not my man's responsibility to make sure I'm happy today. Like, no. I mean, help. You could help. Maybe, you could do your best, right? But like, you're not responsible for my thoughts. I have to be responsible for how I think and how I cope and what I could do to make sure that I am in the best headspace. I have to do that. And I feel like Michael, he hasn't learned that yet. I think he's willing to learn, though. I do see that in him. I think he's open to, I think he's a reflective person, which I do appreciate, but sometimes his reflectiveness is overbearing. He overthinks. And look, I know the pill in that too. Like, that's something that I struggle with sometimes, because it's like, damn, your mind could be your worst enemy, or it could be your best friend. So either way, I think Michael is annoying as fuck. And I feel like his small white lie is very telling, and it's suspicious, and it's dangerous and alarming. Now, Jasmina, apparently she did give a little lie as well. So when they returned from their honeymoon, and it was day one into moving into their shared apartment and living together, spending the night together in this shared space, she told Michael that she was going to go back to her apartment, specifically because she wants to just schedule the arrangements for her doggy daycare, which I knew was bullshit. Like, girl, what? First of all, organize your shit better. You knew you was going to return back to the shared apartment, right? You knew after this honeymoon was life with you and Pablo, right? But you knew that. Now all of a sudden, oh, I have a dog. Let me figure out the daycare for this. Shut up. What are you talking about? And first of all, is the dog not able to live with y'all in the shared apartment? So I don't know what happened with that. But anyway, her lying and saying that excuse, but instead we learned that she just said that as an excuse, and she just really wanted to step away from him and not be in his space, because she just wanted to be by herself, which I feel like should have been what was said. She should have just said, hey, you know what? I just need a break. I need a break. But yeah, overall, I think Michael is a little weirdo. I feel like he needs to work on his delivery. I feel like oftentimes when he speaks, it's very interviewer-like. Like, I don't know. I think there's just an insecurity about him that is just spilling. It's spilling out from his pores, from the way that he's standing or not standing, the way that he's looking but not looking, the way that he's speaking but not speaking. And he doesn't know how to be cute and flirty and like, hold me from the back, nigga. Hold me from the back. Like, I hate when men don't know how to flirt. What were you created for? What were you created for if you don't know how to flirt with me? Hello? Hold me from the back. Hold my waist. Always hold my waist. You know how people be like, hold my drink? Hold my waist. Not hold my drink, hold my waist. That's what you need to do. Because at this point, what are we doing? You walking side to side. I remember when I was with Boston Bay, I'm going to bring him up because I feel like he's always relevant to these topics. But when I was with Boston Bay, that nigga never knew how to flirt with me. He was so fucking awkward. I remember it was, like the first few months of us like dating. And or fucking, I mean, at this point, what was it? What were we doing? Nothing. Being a situationship, that's what we were doing. Anyway, so and I slept over, and he was like, we was on the same bed, y'all, and he was just over there, and I'm over here on the other side, and I'm like, okay, are you not gonna hold me? He's like, oh, do you want me to hold you? Do you want to cuddle? No, never mind. I gotta go. Bye. What? Do I want to? Is my pussy lips not pink? Is my pussy lips not pink? Yes, I want to cuddle. Yes. What are we talking about? Like, why are we in the bed and you're over there? Oh my God, this nigga was so fucking traumatizing. He was so traumatized. I mean, what I would think about, which I haven't really thought about him in a long time. But in moments of these types of conversations, it brings me back to those times with him, and I'm like, dang, he was so unaffectionate, and it's funny because I dated Boston Babe right after Leprechaun Babe, and Leprechaun Babe was super clingy, super affectionate. I didn't like that, but I didn't like that. Learning about, how you date people and you learn more about yourself. I didn't like that from Leprechaun Babe because I didn't really like Leprechaun Babe. Hello? Is the mic on? I didn't really like Leprechaun Babe. I wasn't really y'all know this. I wasn't really physically attracted to him. I was just with him because I felt like it was the right thing to do. Like, what? But anyway, so he was more physically affectionate. Now, going from that to Boston Babe, who was super unaffectionate, me and him barely kissed. When I tell you barely kissed, he only ate my pussy like twice throughout the like y'all, I swear to God, I could write a book. Just weird shit, So you have the transition of, wow, one extreme to the next. So, what I learned about myself is that I like physical affection from the person who I like it from, right? If I like you, then of course I want you touching on me. But if I don't like you, don't even breathe your breath on me. I don't want it. Anyway, I say all that to say, Michael doesn't know how to flirt. I feel like he's insecure. I think Jasmina is kind of rude. I feel like she has a wall built up. I don't think she's attracted to him. And I'm only seeing no more than platonic vibes. I know I did see them kiss at some points, but like, it was a peck. It wasn't like she's looking into his eyes like, wow, like you make me, nothing like that. It was just very, look, we're in Mexico. let's Puerto Rico. They was in Puerto Rico. We're in Puerto Rico. Let's just go ahead and take this photo. But yeah, so that's my verdict with them. Let's talk about, oh my gosh, so many couples. I don't really want to talk about all of them, but I want to talk about the heavy hitters. Or maybe I'll talk about all of them. But let's get into Noi and Steve. Now, I love Steve. I really do. I really appreciate who he is. I think he is such a self-actualized man. And I love that. Being that I have worked hard to become who I am today, just emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and recognize that I'm self-actualized as well. Seeing or vibing with other people who are like that is really just an awesome thing to experience. Like, wow, you get it. Like, you get it, right? Like, you get it, And Steve gets it. I feel like Steve is someone who thinks outside the box. He's a creative mind. He doesn't want to be locked into the matrix of 9 to 5. And I fucks with that. And if I had a career in IT, which obviously pays, from what I've learned, pays a lot, pays within the 6 digits. Hell yeah, I'm quitting my job and go on a 4-month hiking journey. Like, why not? I just feel like some of us get so conditioned into what life is instead of what it really is, right? Like, life really is about adventures, exploring, knowing oneself, realizing who God is, because God is all around us. And when you fail to see it from that freeing and liberating perspective, you get so boxed into the stressors of what life is conditioned for us to believe, right? Like, hey, you go to college, you get your degree, you get a job, to stay in that job, get in your cubicle, or stay in the classroom, or whatever the job is, and you just stay there until 55, 65, and don't dare dream, don't you dare think outside the box, don't you dare have desires. You want to be a stand-up comic? Girl, get out of here with that. You know what I mean? Like, there is no push to think outside the norm because it's safer to be in the box. And I think because Noi grew up in a background of poverty, of refugee camps, of fleeing danger, I understand this fear of getting outside of the matrix because, oh my gosh, I have to figure it out, or oh my gosh, I have to depend on myself and, recognize my own creativity and skills, and recognize that I can bring in whatever I want, and I am the currency. Hello, I am the currency. But Noi wasn't conditioned to believe that way, nor was she encouraged to believe that way. And it's really a fear-based approach that she has towards life, which is very understandable. It's sad though. Like, ultimately, I get her perspective. I get her fear. Like, I get it. But it's sad though. And I hope that being around Steve could influence her to think outside the box. But oftentimes, if you're conditioned at a certain point, you're just conditioned, and you're not willing or at all interested in learning another way, which is why I feel bad for Steve, because I think he deserves to be with someone who is on that same wavelength. Like, I always said whenever I was dating someone, like, I just want him to be on the same wavelength as me. I want him to understand me on that mental level. Like, I'm a sapiosexual when it comes to that. Like, I love when you just get what I'm saying, my thought patterns, we share the same rhetoric, we're sharing the same humor, we get each other. And Steve is not being understood by Noi, and instead he is being maltreated because Noi is not self-actualized. Noi is not emotionally mature, and that's, oh my god, that shit was crazy. Noodles, she got mad because, I don't know why she got mad, because again, Steve is so emotionally mature and self-actualized that the way that he presents himself and the way that he communicates, it's so effective and so mature that you cannot not understand where he's coming from. Like, he just speaks with such care and such tonality and such intention. Like, you could tell he thinks before he speaks. He's not just spewing out. You could tell he knows how to have a conversation. You could tell that you could talk to him about anything. And because Noi is still this immature brat, she can't appreciate him for that. She can't. And I love the way he checked her. And he checked her. I think, just like I said in the last episode, how I think the best check is the mature one, right? I could check the shit out of you and do it without cussing you out, without calling you out your name, without getting out of my character, because ultimately when you're in control of your emotions and you're facing off with someone who is not in control of their emotions, and they see that, wow, she's so in control of her emotions, that would trigger them even more. That would get them upset even more, because they wish they could be you. They wish they could have control over their emotions, because I know how that feels like. Growing up, I didn't have control over my emotions. I was very much the victim of my emotions. I was very much controlled by my emotions. And so I was always crying at the whim of a hat, always offended, always mad, always had an attitude, until I realized, hold on, this is not how I want to do life. There has to be another way. And then I learned the other way. I really spent time and spoke to God and talked to him about it. I fasted. And ever since that point, I remember that shifting point in my life. And I learned how to control myself. And I accepted that you cannot control other people, but what you can do is control yourself. You can't control your thoughts. You can't control your emotions. You can't control your behavior. All of this is in your control. And that is liberating as fuck. That is empowering as fuck. And that is what wins. That's what wins. You know, that is what will get you to win whatever obstacle that comes your way. Because when you have control, everything just falls into place. That's really what it is. So anyway, seeing how Noi overreacted and packed up sushi and left the apartment, girl, are you on drugs? Is it drugs? Like, what is the big deal here? And for her to subliminally post that Instagram post and knowing that he's gonna see it, knowing that some of his family members and friends follow her, it just was very childish. And again, that is a testament of her not being on the same wavelength as him. And it just makes me sorry. It makes me sorry that Steve has to deal with that. And I really hope, you know, being that he's so mature, I don't know. I feel like he's so graceful too. I feel like he may want to continue to work it out, or he may stick it out, but I don't think he should stay. I really don't. I think also her being so rigid about, no, we have to have 3 kids. Girl, what? You're a kid. That already counts for 1. So let's just pick up on having 2 kids, because you're already the child. You are already the child. Like, you sound so damn dumb. Like, do you ever think about, like, just open your mind and be flexible to the idea of 3 may not work out, right? Or maybe you guys end up having 4, right? It doesn't have to be this rigid number. And for her to be so rigid about it, again, speaks to her immaturity. Her being so upset about or worried about him not having a job, a typical 9-to-5 job, is also an example of her not being on the same wavelength as him. Nigga, that is a heaven say, oh, are we not working? Okay, let's go ahead and rent this van. Let's go camping. I am down. What? That is fucking, I think that's exciting. I would commend him on just plugging out and quitting your, like, that is so, what is the word? That is so courageous. It's so courageous to finally leave a job that has been your comfort, but to do it in a strategic manner, of course, right? I'm sure he said he has savings, and, you know, if he wanted to tap back into the 9-to-5, he can easily do so, but it's not about doing that. It's about doing what the fuck you want to do and being happy with your choice. And I wish he would have supported him with that. And it'll be one thing if he was a bum, right? If he was like, nah, I'm gonna figure it out, and didn't have any money figuring it out, right? Didn't have any stocks or any currency, any income. And sure, income is not being had because you're not currently working a job per se, but he does do freelance, and he has a stealthy savings. So why isn't that enough for you? Like, why are you so quick to think of the worst? I'm just thinking about our kids. First of all, let's get to decision day, Noi, before it becomes a no. The fuck? I'm just thinking about our kids. I don't want them to grow impoverished. Okay, I think he knows that too. Like, girl, relax. You think he wants to grow impoverished? You think so? It doesn't make sense, Noi. And then he speaks very calmly and confidently that I feel like that would make me feel rest assured. I really do. I feel like someone like him would make me feel rest assured, like, okay, everything is fine. The wall is crawling with bugs. The outside is filled with smoke and fire. But Steve is saying everything will be fine. Everything's good. We got it. Okay, we got it. We got it. Everything is fine, Noi. Relax before it becomes a no. Relax. Okay, Olajuwon and Katina. Okay. Oh, reminds me of Boston Bay. Oh my gosh. And being that this season is based in Boston, I do wonder if he knows Boston Bay. I'm about to say his real name. Oh, shit. But no, I don't think he listens anyway. But anyway, I say that because their mannerisms. I want to say Boston Bay had ADHD. You know what's funny? Leprechaun Bay had ADHD, which is like, what? I thought that shit was only for kids. Is ADD the one that's only for kids? I don't know, but I really thought that shit fades out after a while, right? Like, hey, you kind of get conditioned into adulthood and then that shit goes away. No, that shit could stay with you. That's crazy to me. But yeah, I remember when Leprechaun Bay told me that he has ADHD. Or was it AD? It was one of them A's, okay? ADD, AA, AAA. You know, AA Anonymous. I don't know. He had one of the A's, okay? And he probably did go to AA, was it Anonymous? Because he did have a drinking problem. You know, God bless him. Anyway, he definitely did have a drinking problem. I remember one time he would just like force drinks down my throat. Like, not literally, y'all. I mean, I guess there was one time. But anyway, when I would like, oh, no, I'm not drinking, he'll be upset that I'm not drinking with him. And when we would drink together, he'll just overdo it. His forehead is sweating profusely. Like, are you okay? You never had Hennessy before? What? Like, why am I holding my liquor better than you and you're 8 years my senior? Why am I holding my liquor better than you and you're 8 years my senior? Please let me know. It doesn't make any sense. So I think he really did have a drinking problem. He probably did go to AA or Anonymous. Okay. What was I saying? So Leprechaun Bay definitely had a drinking problem and he had ADD, ADHD, whatever, and he took pills for it. And I don't think he took them regularly because he did tell me. I remember one time he told me he didn't want to take the pills. You know, the typical thing niggas was like, yo, this is horrible. Why am I forgot about this detail in our relationship. I remember one time I was over his house and he was showing me, like, I just saw pills on the on the nightstand. I'm like, okay, are you a cokehead or what? So he says how he's been diagnosed with ADD. I swear it's either ADD or ADD, one of them. And he takes the pills sometimes. It helps him to better focus, but he doesn't like taking it because it dulls him down and he's not his real self. You know, people be saying that excuse whenever they have to take pills for their mental health. Like, I'm not myself. Like, shut up. Well, yourself is crazy. Take these pills and shut the fuck up. Kanye West. Damn. Yourself is crazy. You need these pills. Okay? If you want to hold down a job, if you want to not drink excessively, you need to take these pills morning, noon, and night. My God, today. But anyway, he had ADD, whatever. Olajuwon resembles, well, he admitted that he has ADHD. He said specifically ADHD. I remember that. And I'm like, oh, here we go. But that made everything make sense. It made everything make sense because I noticed in his behavior, he was super jittery, super on it, always talking over you, not listening. And that was exactly like Leprechaun Bay. Always talking over me, always dominating the conversation. I just thought it was like a Leo trait. Like, man, Leos are fucking annoying. I would never date a Leo. But come to think of it, it just had to have been because of his ADD or ADHD. Huh, good to know. I really thought for a long time I could never be with a Leo. They're so egotistical. But no, I could never be with the ADHD type of guy. That's what it is. Take your meds. Take your meds. Thank you. So anyway, Olajuwon, I don't know if he take meds. I don't know. That was just one scene or two scenes. It was very earlier on in this season, probably like in one of the wedding episodes. So it was never discussed since. And I don't know if Katina knows about it. His friends never mentioned to her, like, hey, you know, how do you feel about him being ADHD? I don't know. So maybe he doesn't want to talk about it again. But yeah, that nigga has ADHD. And it explains a lot. It explains a lot. So yeah, it's going to be a no for me, dog, for that. I think Katina is losing her voice. I really do, unfortunately. I think she's losing her voice with him. I think she's doing her best to acquiesce to what he wants and to what he requires in a wife. Which on one hand, it's like, okay, cool. You know, you want your wife to cook and, you know, have food already done, which that's fine to me because I like to cook. Like, I love cooking. I think I love cooking a meal and seeing my man eat it. It's like, yeah, eat that shit. Like, it's nice. It's nice to see that. Katina's not like that. She's not domesticated in that way. And so it's going to be an adjustment for her. But, you know, it is what it is. It's going to be a growing situation for them. I think, though, Olajuwon, because of his ADHD and just his overall nature, he has a way of speaking that could be off-putting, and it could easily rile someone up and be annoyed and be offended by. Yet, because Katina is not as vocal with him as she is to Lindsay, for example, she will be run over. And I hope that, well, this next episode coming up, we see Katina crying. I remember a preview of this season included Olajuwon screaming or speaking loudly to Katina, saying, that's why, you know, you're a wife now, whatever. So I don't know what that was about. I can't wait to see the context behind that. Either way, why are you talking to me like that? I don't give a fuck what the context is. Watch your tone, okay? Be more like Steve and have some class with your delivery. But anyway, it's gonna be a no for me, dog. Lindsay and Mark the Shark. I think Lindsay is scary as hell. I really do. At the very least, that is my verdict. She is a scary woman. Imagine waking up to her. I can't. I don't know how Mark the Shark does it. And I don't like I think he's kind of scary to wake up to as well. Why are your eyes so ice cold? Like, is he a cat? And he does not collect cats, but he has 5 cats. So maybe he is a cat, as like, maybe that's really who he is. Maybe he really is a cat. Anyway, I read this comment in the Reddit chat room for Married at First Sight, or the Reddit page, not chat room. And this comment says, it's a manipulation tactic. She goes above and beyond for you to like her. But the second she feels an ounce of criticism from you, it's you being a bad person after she took a day off of work to help you clean your bed bug infested apartment. Not like she overbearingly offered herself. She's strategic, and I'm not here for her. So this is what someone wrote, called Curly Hair 07. Shout out to her or him. But I totally agree with this observation about Lindsay. I think she is manipulative. I think her way of showing up for him and helping to clean his bug-infested apartment was a way for her to hold it against him for whenever she needs to. I think she lacks couth. I think she lacks class. And I think she's a deplorable person, just overall. And it's unfortunate because this is just who she is, ultimately. And I don't really see her changing. She's already set within her ways. And being that Mark the Shark has said, it's funny how they match these couples together, because they would match the person with a person who they've struggled with in past relationships, like with the same characteristics that they struggle with from past relationships. Suddenly their spouse exemplify all those characteristics. Like, what? So Mark the Shark said that he has dealt with women who were just overbearing, or I forgot what did he say? He said overbearing. He just said something like he didn't know when to walk away in relationships, and this time is another case of that. Or like he been with women who just didn't really care to be nice to him and be kind. And he doesn't understand that. And you have another example of such. So I just wonder how he's going to handle it. I think he's doing well as far as telling her specifically what he doesn't like that she's doing. And it's unfortunate to hear coming from Lindsay's perspective, because I feel like nobody in that group likes her. And I mean, it's Lindsay's fault. It's not anyone else's fault. It's her fault. But it's not easy to receive that all the time, especially when you're in a group setting, in the public, and your husband is now adding on to it by speaking to you separately, but I don't know how close he was to anyone else. But he says to her, you know, you didn't have to say that. Basically, he didn't like that she called out Katina when Katina rolled her eyes, which I don't understand why there's even still beef between the two. I thought they kind of moved on. This happened during the honeymoon, so why are we still beefing? Like, what's going on? But either way, Lindsay is deplorable. What she said about Mark the Shark when she was in that bathroom talking about he can't even make her come. Come on now. Come on. Yo, I'm going to say another story real quick about Leprechaun Bear. I'm going to end it there because I remember a time I didn't say he couldn't make me come. I just said, okay, get away from me. Like, there was a time when he was eating me out and it was going on 15 minutes. I didn't know if someone was down there or he got lost. Are you still there? Where's your tongue? Have you found my clit yet? Like, he didn't know what he was doing. And it was 15 minutes of someone just knobbing on my lips. What do we do? I gotta go home. Because remember, at that time, I was living home with my parents. And they don't like me being out too late. I gotta fucking go. What are we doing? So anyway, I think of that as similar to what Lindsay said about Mark the Shark, because Leprechaun Bay couldn't make me come. And I finally said, you know, I gotta go. I kind of like pushed him off. And he guilt tripped me and was like, oh, I feel bad. You know, how do you think I feel that you're leaving right now and I didn't make you come? And I'm looking at him like, well, bitch, how do you think I feel? Literally, how do you think I physically feel right now? I've been letting you chomp away and nothing has been done. How do you think I feel? Like, what are we talking about? Oh, it's about him. Nigga, could you make me come? Anyway, let me end it here, y'all. This is a lot. But again, if you would like to sound off on any topic that I've discussed, please do so by clicking the link in the show notes where it says voice message, and you are there to voice off on anything that I've discussed. Also, be sure to have liked this episode. Leave a review on the platform that you're listening to this on. So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Anchor, leave a comment, leave a review, make it positive, of course. Leave a positive comment, positive review. And that is all. Thank you again for listening. I appreciate every listen, and I will check in with you all next time. Bye. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of God Built This Podcast with your host, Maxine. Be sure to leave a review, give me 5 stars, and of course, subscribe. Also, follow God Built This Podcast on Instagram at God Built This Pod. God bless.